What's up, MetaNerdz? This video will break down the Gozanti-class and the many variants, as this is one of the most prolific and heavily modified ships out there. Likes are the best ways to help me out, so if you want to promote actual lore over drama, hit that like button and subscribe to see more. The Gozanti was known for its power and reliability, earning the nickname the Flying Fortress for its focus on durability and firepower over cargo space or speed. So let's start with the original version. Although originally designed by the Corellian Engineering Corporation, CEC, the actual construction was outsourced to various other companies, with Gallifrey Yards Inc. being its most prolific shipwright, though there are many other companies that are not named, ensuring that they could be seen throughout every corner of the galaxy. Released in 34 BBY, it would cost 150,000 credits, which is only 2.5 times the TIE Fighter, and equal to an X-Wing. And it flew off at a size of 41.8 meters or 137 feet, making it 3.5 times smaller than the CR-90. This stat will be one of the most variable over time. The ship emerged during the Old Republic era and was intentionally built with the limited speed to reassure Republic inspectors that it could not be easily repurposed for piracy.
Ironic.
With a 400 km per hour or 249 mile per hour top atmospheric speed, making it half the speed of the Zeta-class heavy cargo shuttle, which of course was not made for speed, but it's often considered to be the slowest and most difficult to pilot. But I think the original Gozanti might be the slowest ship I have ever done a breakdown on, very possibly the slowest ship in all of Star Wars. Comment if you know something slower and I'll definitely look into that. And for hyperdrive rating, it's Class 3 with a backup Class 12. Making this uniquely slow as well, though larger transports like the GR-75 are even slower with a Class 4. This slow speed kept it from being prized as a Pirate King's next flagship. Despite it being used by independent groups such as the Hutts and crime lords, it was never directly involved in acts of piracy, at least during this era. With some effort, the vessel's performance could be improved as seen during the Galactic Civil War, when the resource-constrained Rebellion upgraded many Gozantis into capable warships. Rebellion engineers refined the ship to the point that they could hold their own in modern combat. As a result, the Rebellion deployed them as both escort vessels and, in desperate situations, as makeshift capital ships. The cruisers were heavily armed and notoriously difficult to board, much to the frustration of space pirates that would want to just raid them for their loot. The robust design featured heavy armor and reinforced hulls, along with retractable weaponry that includes 4 laser cannons, 2 quad laser turrets, and a proton torpedo launcher. This made them formidable against pirates using outdated or repurposed transports. And so by putting several of them together, they were primarily used by merchants, militaries, and mercenaries across the galaxy to protect cargo from piracy. A few also served as diplomatic vessels or mobile command centers. When criminals did acquire one, they often converted it into a prison ship or a secure personal transport, leveraging these defensive capabilities. The ship's standard configuration allowed it to carry 12 passengers, with a crew consisting of a pilot, co-pilot, communications officer, communications and sensor operator, 2 loadmasters, and 6 gunners. Despite trying to keep the pirates away from this, there was always a strong source of modders and shipwrights in the mid and outer rims that had no fear of Republic police raiding their shops, and many versions did end up in the Black Sun fleets. With their very conspicuous livery that shows us just how unconcerned they were with law enforcement, or even rival pirate attacks. As you would have to know, this thing was full of either illegal goods like weapons or spice, or stolen goods. The best pickings from a series of raids concentrated in these so-called Black Sun frigates, which shuttled assets from one base or bank to another. The Separatists also used it to escort things, but obviously this was several layers down from their preferred units, so it would only be expected to add support or escort relatively safe targets, and they could fit inside of a lucre hull. It would have been cool to see them used in ways like the later Imperial variant, shuttling both land and air assets around. They're so ubiquitous that they could be seen everywhere from the Outer Rim to the lower levels of Coruscant, and by the time of the Empire, there would be a new variant. But first, let's thank our partners over at GeekiGr, who are having another 10% off sale on their already great low prices. As you can see, I already have a ton of their stuff. It's really high quality builds that are compatible with Legos, and I'm really excited to get to building these. MOC Builds usually give you access to all sorts of builds that you can't get anywhere else, and they all come with free shipping to the United States. Check out the site, it really is fun to see all these amazing designs. From space fighters to pirate ships, real-world models, kawaii tabletop decor and anime, to military builds and all kinds of parts you need, like motors, loose bricks, lights, plates, and roads. Pew pew! I really love my GeekiGr builds, all kinds of neat stuff. I'm sure you'll like something. Check them out using the link down below for an additional 10% off. Thanks again to GeekiGr. The Imperial Gozanti would bulk out the wing sections mostly so that it could hold the new TIE LN series fighters. connecting this engine wing area to the middle structure while bulking out the entire hull in a more angular form, increasing both internal volume but also thicker armor plating. It is one of the largest jumps in hull size that we will see, being 63.8 meters, or 209 feet, making it 1.5 times larger. It keeps the hyperdrive system, but ups the atmospheric speed to a more normal range of 1,025 km per hour or 637 miles per hour, putting it around the range of most starfighters and other vessels, and a 2.5x increase while only going up by 50,000 credits to 200k. But it would actually lose significant firepower, coming down to a single dorsal twin laser cannon turret and a single ventral heavy laser cannon turret. So they're hoping these things never really come into any serious fighting, and if they did, they could release their up to 4 TIE fighters, providing a far more dynamic threat response and far better for patrolling a wider area. And even in a more specialized role as it played with the variability of the TIE, having a special TIE for just about any circumstance. Like the advantages of modular weaponry, it made the Gozanti one of the most adaptable craft of all time. Need a mini base with simple patrol? Basic TIEs will work. Want to spread out over a wider sector? Pack in the hyperdrive enabled TIE variants like the TIE Scout. It could even carry a pair of TIE bombers, while also moving land vehicles like the AT-ST and even AT-AT. This one 60-meter long ship could effectively transport a proper invasion force in just a few trips, bolstering defenses in response to intel on rebel movements. And just imagine how many assets could be moved to a particular base, port, or planet in general with just 24 hours and a dozen Gozantis. It makes it so you don't have to move your big, fear-inducing assets like the Star Destroyers, so you wouldn't risk looking weak. The looming symbol of Imperial might stays over one city, while the coming and goings of smaller ships like the Gozanti are more subtly reacting to these newer threats. Then there is this version, which is a bit bulkier. Notice the more armored, flat nose at the bow, and maybe even the proton tubes are back, though they're not explicitly listed in official sources. And it might make sense to me since it would be seen transporting VIPs to one of the most top secret facilities in the galaxy at Tantus Base. Now it may also have a slightly larger dish, which takes me to the dish king, the IGV-55 surveillance. To really show the insanity of having so many different variants, this one is just 1.05 meters smaller than the Imperial standard one, but it has a top speed of 900 km per hour. But most important is the Class 1 hyperdrive, which now puts it in the fastest group out there, and does have 2 heavy laser cannons, but really put it all into the specialized role of collecting, transmitting, and jamming comms, along with 3 very unique sensor systems, which I have only ever seen on this ship. A passive dedicated energy receptor, a DER array, active phased full spectrum transceivers, an FST array, and the high resolution hyperspectral imaging HSI receiver, which all work to not just let it passively record and transmit, but this was a processing data center, like a little ISB office floating through space, able to create raw data and create actionable intel to track down threats to the Empire. And it also packed in very unique means of survival, ensuring that this data was not easily lost. The most obvious is that it doubled the engines, but also had an electromagnetically insulated bridge module, and signal leak minimizing composite hull coating to keep the actual emissions from the devices on board from creating an enormous EM signature in space. But they even had insulated sublight drive turbines to reduce the actual heat signature, something we only see on specialized stealth ships like the Scimitar used by Maul. And 2BBY, a team of Imperial intelligence officers and slicers led by the controller LT-319, operated aboard an IGV-55. The starship was outfitted with a powerful signal array, enabling it to transmit and intercept communications over vast distances. Under LT-319's command, the team hijacked the rebel astromech droid Chopper, intending to use him to uncover the location of Phoenix Cell's Chopper base. But their plan was thwarted by Chopper's own Harrison Dula, who sent a massive data surge that overloaded the vessel's systems, causing its fuel cells to explode and destroy the ship along with its crew. After the Battle of Endor, the Empire expanded into the Bormia sector, deploying jamming ships to assist their advance. These were swiftly neutralized by Vanguard Squadron, and later during the Battle of Galatan, the Empire again deployed jammers to block the New Republic forces from sending a distress signal, but these efforts also failed when the jammers were destroyed. Now one of the most significantly altered variants is the Assault Carrier. Interestingly, we only get freedom units for this one, being 210 feet, so it's close that it might have just been rounded up from 64 meters. This is bulked out far more than even the normal Imperial variant, rounded at the nose like the Balmorra one, but these protrusions at the side are thinner and seem a bit wider, coming to the shuttle like wings, and it now has 3 engines. When it is rated by the Mandos, we can see a lot of great detail, like how it has this platform area, with railings even, and it's along the outside of the ship, allowing for patrols to keep eyes on their surroundings when at a landing pad or spaceport. We can see the lifeform scanner.
Sir, there are only 4 lifeforms.
Wait, they're Mandalorian. Wait.
And specifically in atmospheric flight, we see the 3 powerful engines. Quote how fast they climb. And while the corridors are usually great on defense from your standard thugs, with the right tech like smokes and thermals, it can be easy work. And we see the cargo area is actually not that large, maybe only a small family of dewbacks could squeeze in here. And though of course the self-destruct protocols were an extreme measure to protect secret remnant facilities, in this process, when we see it racing full speed down in a nosedive, it was responsive enough to be able to pull up when it was only a few hundred feet above the water. But this variant had been used since the Galactic Civil War. In 3 ABY, during the Battle of Hoth, Imperial General Maximilian Veers used this type of Gozanti to transport Blizzard Force's walkers instead of the Y-85 Titan dropships. He feared that Rebel starfighters would attack the dropships before they could safely land, possibly destroying the walkers in the process. After Emperor Palpatine's death in 4 ABY, we see the launch of Operation Cinder, aimed to destroy Imperial worlds in a scorched earth strategy. As the operation's climate disruption arrays caused severe storms, the Gozanti-class assault carriers arrived in the capital city of Kestro, with one deploying an AT-AT near the Archive. When the effects of Operation Cinder were seen on Naboo, there were at least 2 of this variant which deployed AT-ATs in the heart of Theed. And let's end on the most unique variant, the Configuration Restored Operational Capacity, or C-ROC Gozanti-class light cruiser. This was an officially modified version produced by CEC. At a cost of $190K, it was just $40K more than the old standard, and 1.77 times the size at 73.91 meters, or 242 feet. The top speed of 1200 km per hour, or 746 miles per hour, is a bit absurd, making it as fast as a TIE fighter when in atmosphere at least. This was achieved via 5 Novel Dex JV-80 ion drives, and the armament comes in 2 forms. The standard was the retractable quad laser cannon turrets, which have 1 dorsal and 1 ventral, the retractable twin heavy laser cannons, which are 2 in the port and 2 in the starboard, while the Corsair refit is vague but said to have stronger power sources packed in, additional fixed cannon mounts, additional ordnance tubes, additional turret mounts, and each would have a complement of 4 M3A SICK interceptors. The SICK Starfighter offered few comforts to its pilot, similar to the TIE LN, but it had 2 key advantages. It was more affordable, and its weapon mounts could support a variety of equipment. Its basic setup included a weapon, engine, reactor, capacitor, and a weak shield generator, while the standard laser could be easily swapped out for an ion cannon, concussion missiles, or a proton torpedo launcher, while the base only cost $55K, making it one of the few ships in history to be cheaper than a TIE. You can always upgrade it more when you got more credits. This flexibility allowed large organizations to create squadrons with mixed weapon loadouts, while individual pilots could repair or upgrade their weapons anywhere in the galaxy. However, the SICK had limited space for additional mods that couldn't carry a booster or flight computer along with its standard gear, and so they had to rely on allied ships to calculate hyperspace jumps. The C-ROC also had an escape craft and was run by a crew of 12, 1 pilot, 1 co-pilot, an engineer, comms and sensor operator, 2 loadmasters, and 6 gunners. And while the standard version could hold 20 passengers, there were extra mods you can get that added areas to accommodate hundreds of passengers, while having a separate cargo area with 4,000 metric tons, with a weight of 4,907 dewbacks, with most of that being packed into the sides or underneath. It also had a great feature for criminals, likely pitched as a safety feature. There was a quick release cargo lock that could shed the cargo in an instant. The C-ROC's hull design was softer and more rounded compared to the bold, square shape of the standard cruiser. The front 2/3 of the hull had a sloping, bell-shaped structure, narrow at the top and widening toward the bottom. Though not as large as your typical cruiser, its crammed corridors made close quarters combat intense, and it also had enough supplies to operate for 2 months. The new hull design improved protection, as the slope helped deflect enemy fire more effectively than the original Gozanti. Instead of 2 cranked delta wings, the C-ROC featured outrigger cargo trays designed to hold modular containers, similar to those used by GR-75 transports. While this gave the ship excellent cargo capacity, it reduced its effectiveness in combat and fleet support roles. The outriggers, along with the extended prow and bridge module, added to the smoother, less angular appearance. While the C-ROC outperformed or at least matched the original Gozanti in most areas, it lacked military-grade sensors and ordnance launchers, though it did have a medium-range sensor. And remember, the original Gozanti was deliberately kept slow to avoid suspicion from Galactic Republic inspectors, whereas this one, with those 3 additional sublight turbines, again made it as fast as a TIE fighter. It's one of the most drastic changes in any variant of any ship. It kept the same armor and deflector shields as the original Gozanti, and though it had less weaponry, it still provided solid defense against smaller ships like patrol boats and starfighters, with those 2 retractable twin heavy laser cannons on each side being able to fend off pirates. Most pilots just used its great speed to escape any danger, and it was pretty rare to see one carrying the 4 sick interceptors. And it's been around since at least the Clone Wars, since many of them were used by Zygerians to move slaves. Though this does conflict a bit, with the details saying that it was proposed to the Galactic Empire, with CEC promoting it as cost-effective, as it had shared parts and crew training similar to the Gozanti-class assault carrier. But the Imperial Navy rejected the proposal, not seeing how it fit in the new logistics strategy, which favored larger, escorted transports like the Eta-class supply barge. With the military uninterested, CEC shifted focus to civilian buyers, targeting companies involved in high-risk transportation. It quickly gained popularity in the Outer Rim, where pilots and smugglers found its capabilities ideal. This led to C-ROC cruisers engaging Imperial Gozanti ships in skirmishes as criminal groups clashed with Imperial patrols. Although not considered a massive commercial success, steady sales encouraged CEC to continue refining and upgrading the design. As lawlessness grew in the Outer Rim, rebel cells also began using C-ROCs as makeshift capital ships. While not intended for frontline combat, a well-crewed C-ROC could effectively counter the older ships in the Imperial Navy, and in 13 BBY, one C-ROC delivered supplies to the Corellian shipyards. We also see one in 4 BBY, with Vizago, the leader of the Broken Horn Syndicate, operating one aptly named the Broken Horn. Whereas Morrigan owned a similar C-ROC freighter named Merchant 1. There is one example of the C-ROC under Imperial attack jettisoning its cargo using the quick-release locks to escape. In another encounter near the Ring of Kafrene, one was present while a YT-1300 freighter evaded TIE fighters through an asteroid field. Even the intergalactic banking clan used one to transport a vault of priceless art under heavy escort. And the notorious pirate ship called the Kimalinga's Maw, outfitted similarly to the Imperial Gozanti-class, carried 4 M3A sick interceptors and became a menace to civilian shipping in this sector. So that's it for the breakdown. Here are all the different resources used to make this video. And again, the best way to help me out is to hit that like button, subscribe to see more, and check out these other videos, I'm sure you'll like them. But most important of all, remember, no ship design is ever too unmoddable, and pirates will always find some use for any ship out there. And the Force will be with you, always.